this presentation on the annual program peer review. So some of the things that have happened, I think you're all aware, the DQAB is a huge part of our process here. We got a 2-year renewal. 5 years is the dream. That's what we hoped for. We ended up getting 2, and that is up for renewal next year, which is why this year we're already having to work on our submission, which is due October 1st. The DQAB, in giving us a 2-year renewal, gave us a whole list of things that they wanted to see happen before the next submission. Some of these things are bringing in an internship program as part of BAM, having domestic enrollment to be a bit more of a balanced international versus domestic student body. And they wanted us to have a bit more of a Canadian perspective on some of our courses. And there were a few other things, but these were kind of the major things. So we are now, as I said, we're up for renewal and we're submitting in October. We've had our expert panel do a review for us in mid-July. We just received their feedback and now we're starting to make those changes. And I think later on I'll mention, or if it'll come up, where we're at with all of those tasks we've been asked to do by the DQAB. So any questions on that sort of background?
Yeah, it's a great background. Appreciate that.
Hey,
Zara, I'd like to add something to what Zara said. I think she's being kind. At this point, the brutal truth, DQAB is not pleased with CityU Canada, some of the deviations from what they approved. This happened before Zara's time. So we did get a letter from them which essentially said, unless you guys take immediate action, they will put the program potentially into suspension. So the Canadian team, with the help of some people from the US, they're essentially fighting right now to correct some of the past mistakes to even stay in the game. So that's just the reality of what Zara's facing right now in Canada, so that the rest of the team is aware.
I did actually make a note of this, and I wasn't reading my notes. I was just improvising. So I forgot to mention that on that. One of the main things that was happening that now we've been asked as of May to not do anymore, we were offering lower division courses on our campus. English 100, English 101, English 102, Math 107, Humanities 105, and OR 105, Student Success. We were offering those courses, 6 of them, on our campus for students that we were accepting who had 65 credits and needed to get those up to 90 before starting BAM. Well, we were told in May that we're not allowed to do this because we do not have approval for that. We are a degree completion program. We should be accepting students who have at least 90 credits. So as of May, for the next quarter, we stopped all of those. So no more English, math, any other courses. And then we had a huge dilemma because we had all these students in the pipeline who were to start with us, but we were not able to now offer these courses. So we had to make quick arrangements with Seattle to offer those courses to students online, which they're all taking right now, before they start with us. And we're not allowed to have anything to do with those students because they are not our students until they join us in the BAM Canada program. So a lot of change happened in that sense that, not only was I not allowed to offer those classes anymore, my faculty who were only teaching math and English, I couldn't have them teach anything anymore. And we had all these students not happy about the fact that now they have to go and do all of these elsewhere before they join our program. So in our submission in October, one of the things we are asking for approval on is to be able to accept students with 65 credits, or the difference between 65 and 90, anywhere in there, and that we can offer those missing courses to them on our campus since we have the syllabi ready to go, we have our faculty ready to go, and it would just simplify the process for our students who are entering the program.
Zara, I got a clarifying comment on that then. And this is for Zara, Sumatra, and Payam. So those students that were taken out of BAM, Canada, and they're being put into the US courses. Are those in the general studies courses now then? Is that
They weren't, no, nobody was pulled out of BAM Canada. Anyone in BAM Canada, we honored that. I was talking about only the new students that were going to join from overseas were not allowed to just start with us without doing those courses. It delayed their entry by a quarter, assuming they pass everything online at Seattle. So from overseas, they started the online courses through Seattle, and then they've been joining our program.
Zara, this is Joel. Just a
Yeah.
quick question in terms of definitions, because I know we're looking at a Canadian context. By definition, international students in Canada, you're defining them as non-citizens, non-permanent residents, right?
Right.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So
They're
an
coming
American,
here specifically to study. Yeah.
yeah. So an American, for whatever reason, would be an international student or American
Yeah.
citizen. Okay.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
some
And
context.
I did have an American from Seattle in one of my classes whenever
Okay.
I taught. Yeah. But
Okay.
yeah, predominantly they're from China, India, Philippines, Mexico. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. That just gives some
Yeah.
flavor and
Yeah.
context.
So, but yeah, like that is one of our asks. We need to start looking for students who are here in Vancouver already. They're working here, they've established residency, they maybe didn't finish their degree. We're trying, just like how we first started with those first 5 students, those are the students that we're really looking for. They need career advancement, but they need to complete their degree. So we're trying to figure out a marketing strategy of how to get them, because that we do need to present to the DQAB as well. Okay, so I guess I can go to the next little part now of just going through the comments. So the first comment here from Joel was about, any specific areas of difficulty, because I was mentioning that, some students are struggling with some of the courses. And I think really a lot of it is language. It's amazing how so many students are accepted, because apparently, and I just learned this recently, there used to be an interviewing process. I think Mark used to interview students to see the language ability, because obviously it's going to be tough to pass this whole program if your English is not to a certain level. But that stopped, apparently. And that would have been before, because ever since I've been here, almost 2 years, we never had that. So this must have been way before that. So I think a lot of students struggle with English. And I know that from teaching them and from receiving emails from them. And so that's part of it. The other part is that a lot of students complain that there's so much content. And our classes in Canada are 5 hours. That's another very big issue. Our courses are 5 hours. And I think it has something to do with the fact that these students, as part of their Vancouver or Canada immigration status, they have to be 50 hours FaceTime per course. So in 10 weeks, that means we have to do a 5-hour class. And I believe that there's just so much content and it's such a long session. That's probably why a lot of students struggle.
Zara, isn't there any level of English proficiency requirement?
Yeah, there is. And they seem to, well, not only are they having to do English 102 before they start BAM, and they have to get a 2.0 in that, but they're also having to show results from Duolingo or whatever those other English standardized tests are. But it's amazing that you can do all right and pass those courses or those tests, but to be able to conduct, it's a different skill to be able to learn business analytics or project management or, content heavy things where you're doing a lot of reading, essay writing. It's a lot of struggles in their assignments, so being able to pass a multiple choice test or writing a little bit here and there is very different from the kind of stuff we're asking them to do in the program. And I think they're just not ready for that. And then, I think I mentioned in my introduction that all of our faculty are Vancouver based. We have a very international, diverse background of faculty who are also from many different countries, but they live here, they work here, and they all come from industry. So a very nice balance of practitioner, academic. And all of our classes are only on campus right now. And then one of the goals that I'll be talking about that we had last year was, and the nice thing is, even though this is my first time doing this in this director role, the two goals that were put in place last year ended up actually being my projects as associates. So I can very well speak to them. But when I talked about one of the goals about faculty retention, one of the ideas was to try to create roles that sounded a little bit more commitment between faculty and us. So we came up with junior affiliate and senior affiliate roles. So a junior affiliate is someone who is guaranteed to teach 3 courses per year or 4. And a senior affiliate is guaranteed 6 courses per year. It doesn't change their pay, it doesn't change any of that, but and we try to give them a preference of you always want to teach on a Tuesday morning and you always want to teach this course, fine. So it used to be a 1-year contract, and it's only been 1 year since, like, we're in that year now. It'll end in December. But we've now decided for renewals, it'll actually be a 3-year contract. We figured DQAB might like that long-term a little bit more than a 1-year contract. And so, I mean, it still doesn't guarantee that someone will stay for 3 years. If they get a full-time job elsewhere, they'll jump ship pretty fast. But we're showing our commitment to them, and that, they can expect at least a minimum. These are minimum number of courses per year. So that's what those roles are, to answer Heather's question. And yes, I've been working with Jaleesa on different things. We're already talking about, for example, and we've just added this in the submission yesterday, actually, some ideas for how we're actually going to incorporate, for example, just the Indigenous perspectives into our courses. We're going to have some Indigenous specific case studies. We're going to, have guest speakers come that speak from that community. And so we're working together already on that. In terms of Presley's question, yeah, we have to do the same thing. We do have to reach out and ask every time via email, to see what kind of research they're doing and to encourage them to apply for the grant that we have, So yeah, definitely there's no other system in place right now that would simplify it. Heather. Oh, yeah, so, in our letter in May, when they told us to stop doing all the lower division courses, they did tell us in that letter that in our October submission, if we wanted to, we could apply for a 4-year degree. So Mantra, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure we decided not to ask for that right now. We're asking for renewal of our existing program. We're asking for 4 new specializations. And I can tell you more about that later if you want to ask that at some point. And we're asking for the acceptance of 65 credits, between 65 and 90 credits. Is that right, Sumantra?
And yes, you're correct. And we are actually sequencing it so that they can pick and choose, with the main objective being give us what we have today.
Yeah.
And if that's the only result that comes out, we will accept that result and move on.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah. Okay. And then, okay, so this was to the point about the BC CAT. So this is an organization that has certain number of schools as members, and basically, that if you're getting any students from a BC CAT school, you're good. These students have met, these schools have met certain criteria in order to be part of this. So one of the asks of DQAB was for us to get onto the BC CAT. This is something we started working on this year. We've met with them. They've given us some suggestions of when and how to do this. But it looks like we'll be applying for membership in BC CAT by fall. And because they wanted us to submit to the DQAB first, because a lot of the documents that will be used for DQAB are also going to be submitted to BC CAT. And then they'll go through their committees and process and whatever, and hopefully by summer next year, we have a good chance of actually being part of them. So it creates, first of all, it shows that we are up to par with those schools. We can take transfer students from schools that do first and second year. It's an easy transfer pathway between those schools. But before doing that, one of the criteria of BC CAT is to have affiliations with some of these schools already. So we're actually very close right now to having an affiliation agreement with Corpus Christi, which is an amazing school. We are just looking at their programs right now to see what we can transfer, but they're pretty much following the UBC Sauder School of Business curriculum. So it should be a very easy transfer. And also, they're thinking about helping us out with all of these. Our students are really struggling with these online bridging courses until we're allowed to offer them again. Corpus Christi actually has all those courses, and they're willing to offer it overseas online, or for people who are in Vancouver coming from other colleges to offer it to them on campus. So this is a thing. Chris and I were in a meeting yesterday with regards to how we're going to play this out. But so Corpus Christi, if we can get them, is a great start, because once one joins, then the others will see, oh, Corpus Christi is in affiliation with them. Well, so we're working on 2 right now like that. And if we can do that by the end of summer, early fall, that's a really good step towards not only showing it in the DQAB submission, but also showing the BC CAT group that we are already working with some of the people in that organization. And then in terms of partnership internships, Greg, what we did in the end, so I started working on this sometime last year, and after doing quite a bit of research, decided it would be easiest to go with a company that already works with many of our schools here. It's called Focus. They will basically help with the resumes, help with all of the training for interviews. They will guarantee each student 3 interviews. I organized a paid internship with them. So 99% of students will get a paid internship. 100% are guaranteed an internship, but 99 paid. The 1% that don't get the paid internship, it'll probably be because of language, but they will still have an internship opportunity. This is now, as per DQAB, has to be a requirement for graduation from the BAM program. It will be effective as of the fall intake. So any students coming in October will only be able to graduate if in their final quarter, they are in a 12-week internship program. So that's, and then we're going to be tying it to, I'm just working on this part now. We're going to be using one of your Seattle courses, BSM 485, which is already an internship course. I'm going to probably have it a 5-credit course to keep it consistent. And I'm just trying to figure out now, what that course will look like, how often an instructor will check in with students. I basically want to ensure that there's accountability internally and not just at the organization. I want to find a way to see that students can test that I want to know that they're using what they've learned in all their previous quarters in knowledge of classes, that they're using that in their workplace setting. So that's where we're at with that. And yes, we are working with librarians for course content, for any changes that we're making, like where we're trying to Canadianize. So we're completely changing our HR course. We're using a whole Canadian course. It's going to be still HR 405, but there'll be a C on the end. And that course has a Canadian textbook and is being developed by one of our SMEs. She's the one who teaches the course right now for us. So, and then the other courses, I've been working with Payam on some changes. It could be just a module of a change, or it could be just introducing a bit more of a Canadian case study. We've been doing that for courses, and we're kind of working our way through the ones that we picked that really do need some change. And that came from feedback from our Canadian team. So we're working with our SMEs here, as well as with Payam over there, to make these changes. And then we're going to write about those in our October submission so that they do know we did listen to them and we have made some changes to varying degrees. And then the last part was, yeah, Joel, your question about, a leading business degree program. Here, it took a while to even know what City U was. The school has always been associated with counseling here. We've been trying really hard for the last couple of years through our marketing initiatives to build the brand of City University. But we still have a lot of work to do on the marketing side of getting the word out there that we actually are a business school and that we're not just counseling. So that's something we're working on in a marketing strategy proposal right now. But really, I'd be really happy if we get to a point where people see our business school as a flexible program, you know, a place to finish the degree you didn't get to finish for whatever reasons, you know, at a competitive price point, but with, you know, really great faculty and awesome curriculum and, you know, a perfect pathway to the career that you always wanted in the business field. Okay.
And lots of Canadian students.
Yeah.
I think that's the scepter of what's going on as well.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions about the comments and the replies to the comments?
If I could follow up, Zara, I think
Yeah.
my impression is that you have done a fine job in adjusting these curricular requirements. And part of the challenge, I think, and the difficulty is beyond things that we can do curriculum wise when it comes to accreditors and what they're specifically looking for. Because I think that introduction that you made at the very beginning about you've got a lot of international students, non-permanent residents, and you know, here's an American university coming into our territory and what's it going to do? I think those are some forces that help shape some of the thinking, you know, behind accreditation from my perspective, but yet you have done a fine job in terms of adjusting what you need to do curriculum wise. So I guess my question would be, how can we help in terms of any curricular type adjustments or stuff in that realm that would help you, not just with the program, but also in terms of securing and getting the confidence of regulators?
That's a great question. I'm going to ask Sumantra to help me with this one since he's been working with me, or Payam, if you have any, you know.
I
thoughts
think,
on that.
I think, so first you've been Canadianizing the content, which
Yeah,
is good. You're introducing a HR course, which is specific to Canada.
Mhm.
I think the bigger challenge that this group could help you with, Zara, if they're saying is, you know, as you move into this domestic mix, right? You're going to need to tweak both the modality and maybe some of the ways you deliver the curriculum. You know, if this group has some ideas and thoughts on as this shift changes. Look, the target shift that DQAB would like CityU Canada to have is 40-60. But
Mhm.
as Zara said, we are 0-100, right? So that's a big shift. And that's going to require a bunch of changes, not just on content, on delivery, faculty. So I think if there's something that this group can help, but Zara and Payam, since they're the ones dealing with it, I personally would think that would be a great value add to this process, Joel.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that was actually one of the things I thought at the end I was going to bring up, but I guess this was a good time to ask, you know, given that we have this goal of bringing in domestic students, you know, what are some of the things I'm going to have to, you know, or what changes do you foresee in terms of course delivery, development, instructional effectiveness? What do you foresee for me as adjustments I'm going to have to make? And then what resources will I need to make those adjustments?
If I can throw this out, Zara, I think that your program and mine sit in the same place in terms of counseling having been the program for CityU and really ran that way for many, many years. And so I think that, as we've talked about before, marketing is critical in terms of bringing the local students into the program. So I think that that's one of the key things and most important things that we look at. And how else can we support you? How can I support you in Canada, and how can the rest of the Canadian team support you to move this forward on a local level? And I mean, I threw out there that maybe the first year English programs or whatever could come under Canada as well. but I just throw that out to you in terms of what we could offer as standalone courses here. I think our biggest issue here is marketing for sure.
Yeah, I agree 100% on that. That is something we're struggling with. We have a plan in place. We know what we need to do, but I think, you know, we need the resources to do it. We need the okay to do it, and maybe have, you know, an expert in the field come in and tell us if we're on the right track with what we've thought about in terms of little marketing things we need to do to make
So
this happen.
Just to throw it out there too, I spoke with Chris Bryan last week about marketing, and he knows that our programs need that intensive time and that focus time. So maybe it's a place where we sit down together too, and talk about that.
I spoke to him at graduation about it last week too. We had a lengthy discussion about it. So he's definitely, you know, and I think he sees it and he's on board. I do agree. We need to sit and talk to him and meet and kind of summarize. Here's what we need. Here's what it's going to take. Yeah.
I think this is related to marketing, but at least in the general rhetoric here in the United States, schools that have adjusted curriculum to address some of the bigger sociological or social concerns and socioeconomic concerns that are going on with respect to race, diversity, and equity, have some sort of at least a niche or something they can use to leverage and attract those who may not have had the opportunity for education. And so I don't know what it would look like in the Canadian context in terms of, I know you're working with Jaleesa on this, but ensuring that those who have historically not have access to education and a business degree in Canada, who are Canadian residents or such, really moving that forward as not just a marketing ploy, but how it's embedded in the curriculum. And what does that mean for how you do marketing or how you look at finance? I mean, you all are the experts at that, but I know that bigger conversation is happening, and that might be a factor to try to capture in some way, maybe whether it's curriculum or the way it's taught, just that edge that distinguishes you from all the other business schools.
Yeah, absolutely. That is definitely something we've talked about, and that needs to be done. Yeah. The last thing I just wanted to mention was about the goals. One of them I had already mentioned about for retention, and that junior affiliate was one of the ways in which we were hoping to have retention. But the other goal that was set last year was about having a system to coach and mentor faculty members. That was something I was passionate about myself. So, you know, I don't know if, and Sumantra, I have to send this to you. It's on my list to do, but there's a form that I came up with, just doing some research and figuring out what are the things we want to assess in faculty. Because I checked with City U when I joined. This is one of the first things I did. Nobody really had a form that, you know, you evaluate. There was some kind of thing going on, but nothing really. So I had this form. I created this form that has different sections: student engagement, faculty-student connection, faculty knowledge, faculty's ability to teach in a creative way, like just different sections with several different things under each section with a scale of 1 to 5. And then a comment section under each of those different categories. And what happened is, so then I thought it would be easy. I used to have it as a fillable PDF. Then I would observe all the faculty every other quarter. Unless you were new, then you would get observed this quarter. And we had all of that then uploaded and all this. Anyways, to make it easier, I worked with, when Arlene was here, I worked with her to have it actually be part of Power Apps. Because then Scott really liked this form and thought maybe this is something we can use globally, but it is there on Power Apps as a link that anyone has access to. And so when I now do the form, I go on the link, I click on it, I fill out the form while I'm watching the faculty, and then I save a copy, because otherwise there's no way I can go back and get it, but nobody else can go back and get it. I save a copy, and the rest, basically all of it is in Power Apps now. So when I do course nominations, I can go and pull any of those from any quarter and see what the issues were. But what I do then is I go through the form, and wherever there's a little bit of feedback I want to give them, I then set up a meeting with them. and I give them some tips on, you know, where I think I could provide more resources for them, or I ask them why this was a challenge. It's been really good because it's basically keeping consistency in our teaching. So students can't now say, oh, I want to go in this person's class and not that person's class. The experience should be the same in every course with every instructor in terms of a nice balance between concepts and activities, case studies, group chats, you know, some games, whatever it is, to 5-hour class, right? So that has worked really, really well. And that was one of the things that was the goal last year. And now I've already been doing this for 3 or 4 quarters, having these evaluations and giving tips back, and then having these meetings every month where I bring the faculty together to share best practices. I call it tips and tricks. And obviously the last few months, since I'm on my own here in BAM, I haven't had time to do those monthly meetings with all this DQAB stuff and not having any associates right now. So that is something we're going to be bringing back, but that was an opportunity basically for all the faculty to come together, feel connected, chat about things that worked in their classroom or ask about things that haven't worked, and have everyone share their stories.
Zara, this is Greg. What you just commented on is good content. Have you included that in this APAR?
I don't think so.
That would seem very useful
Mhm.
for accreditor readership.
Yeah, I don't think I have. I know for sure I put it in the DQAB submission, but I
okay.
don't think I have it in here. So I can go back and add that.
You might add a few lines. I wouldn't go to
Yeah,
great
sure.
extent.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is Heather again.
Yeah.
Do you think it would be helpful to do some sessions with your faculty in terms of learning how to teach better? I think often educators, those who have been teaching for a number of years, whatever, and have those credentials behind them, might be seen as credible in terms of helping people be better teachers. Just a thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. That's a great idea. And of course, since last 18 months now, since I took on the role of hiring faculty, it wasn't a part of the requirements to do teaching demos before I joined. But as of 18 months ago, when I was given the faculty as one of my tasks in the role, I started making those mandatory, because everyone can look great on paper and you're a scholar and you've done all this research and you're a pure academic or whatever it is. But being in the classroom for 5 hours a week with students is a different story. So those teaching demos help, because then I know already kind of if there's potential to kind of work on some tips with this person and give them ideas for how to make it a little bit more fun or, you know, more clear. Because again, I do remind all the faculty that I hire that we have international students. English is not their first language. So, you know, I speak very quickly, naturally. That's how I speak. But I know 100% when I'm teaching, I'm a lot slower, and I make sure I re-summarize things and I ask if they have questions. And these are the kinds of tips that I've been passing on to our faculty. But yeah, it would be really nice to have these kinds of training sessions too. Yeah.
Thank you, Zara. Zara, do you have any really important question you'd like to present to the group? And does the group have any final comments for Zara?
I think the only main question I had was the one that Sumantra brought up, you know, just in terms of like bringing in domestic students now, how might that impact some of the other pieces and how to go about that and all that. But other than that, didn't have anything. Yeah.
All right, very good. Then Zara, thank you for your presentation and for all the discussion from the group. Zara, what I'd like you to do is within the next couple of days, just go ahead and finish up that, you know, short paragraph in the APAR, and if you could reply to me by email to say that you have you know, completed that, then I can archive the document.
Sure, I can do that.
And is there? Yeah, I heard a comment. question?
Yeah, this is Ali. Hi, Zara and everybody. Thanks for the interesting presentation. I had one question that may relate to the question you and Sumatra brought up. So one thing I've been trying to do regarding my programs is to learn about the audience or the student body, what their needs are, how our program can be adjusted to fit those needs. Due to the fact that you guys are focused on the Canada population, and the majority of your students are international, you're trying to bring in more domestic students. Do you think, what type of adjustments do you think you guys would need to make to fit that population in terms of how they're good? Because the way domestic students are going to hit the market is different from international, right? They have different roadblocks. They need different types of attention. Have you guys taken any initiatives in that matter? For example, one of the things I've done is develop focus groups. I've started talking to students that are domestic to see what type of roadblocks they have searching for jobs, for example. Looking at their resumes, giving feedback, looking at what job titles they're focusing on. A very common theme I've found is that they are not focused on a specific job title. They'd be searching for something from IT help desk all the way up to software developer, which is a very, very broad spectrum and doesn't really work that way. So have you guys done anything in that area, or are you thinking of doing anything?
So for our domestic students who haven't been working or aren't quite in their careers yet, that's actually a great suggestion of something to think about. But then also we're thinking about bringing students in, like our first cohort that I mentioned from 2018. They're already working and they have career opportunities. All of those 4 or 5 students that I had that first time, they were all working for a company where they all had the opportunity to move up into more managerial roles, but they needed to complete their degree. So for them, they already had this goal of how to move up in their, but what I did organize with Focus Careers, the ones that's doing our internships, I figured I might as well leverage them in other ways too. So it's not just for the students who come from overseas and have to do this internship, but I've also created like different opportunities where, whether it's domestic students or whether it's international students who already have work experience, because they don't have to do the internship if they meet certain criteria on the work experience thing. But for them, they are able to tap into the services of at least like working on resumes, talking about what is your real ideal job. Do you want the opportunity to be placed even though you're working? Do you want to try a placement in some different field for that? The only thing, because it seems like there's so many steps of trying to get domestic students in, let alone service them and figure out what they want. We're still trying to figure out how to get them. That's kind of where we're at now. But even in that, I've had to think, how am I going to create a schedule that works? We don't have a huge campus. We have 8 classrooms that we share with other programs. How am I going to offer them classes? They're going to be mixed probably, because DQAB would like our classes to be integrated. But the problem is the international students have to do a 10-week program of 5 hours each. Our domestic students, most of them will want to apply for financial aid. Here in BC, you have to have a 12-week program to be eligible for financial aid. So I've already thought about how I'm going to make both of those work, where it'll be 12 weeks for them, but 10 weeks for them, and yet in the same classes. I've already figured all that out, because we don't have the resources or the numbers even to offer just domestic students their classes and then just international students. So that part has already been thought out. And now we're at the part of how are we going to get these students and from where? And then we'll definitely look into what can we offer them? What do they need? How are we going to fulfill those needs?
Got it. And one more question related to mostly Sumatra's comment. The numbers that you guys presented here is, it seems like a very good return on investment. Taking a program that had 5 students to something that has 350 plus enrollment and headcount. Have you guys thought of why Canada is thinking of the decision that Sumatra explained, the brutal truth?
You mean why we're thinking of bringing domestic students in?
No.
Oh.
Canada was thinking of retiring the program?
Oh, no, that would not have been Canada's decision. That would have been based on the response of the DQAB. If we do not get renewal, we don't get to exist anymore. So DQAB was obviously not happy with the way things were before my time, but the repercussions are coming now. So that's why, like, you know, actually this whole internship program, I started all that, a little bit of thinking last year, but really only after this year, knowing, oh my gosh, in October we have this submission, this became my priority, internships, right? And then domestic enrollment, marketing strategy plan, and all these things are happening now because we don't have a choice. If we do not deliver what they're asking for, we really have no hope of being renewed at all, let alone for 2 years or 5 at all.
Even with the headcount that you guys have generated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, they're also telling us that we need to slow down because we don't even have the capacity to take on more. And they've made it very clear they do not want us to take more than we can physically handle. So even that, they're kind of telling us.
So, Ali, thank you for those questions. I appreciate it very much. Zara, your comment, all of your explanation was excellent.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very, very much.
Thank you.
So let's go ahead and end the review of the BAM Canada. And yeah, you can stop sharing. Thank you very much. Zara, you are welcome to leave.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you everyone for your time. Have a great day. Bye.
And the rest of you, if you could stay.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for your time.
Okay, great. So welcome to the new year. And we have, let me see. Looks like Megan, oh no, Megan's still here. Megan and Ali, the two of you, oh, and Mike, not that you're new, but you're new to the committee. And, just like, take 30 seconds just to, state your name, what program you're in, what school you're in, and maybe kind of why you're on the committee. So Mike, go ahead.
You betcha. I think I know everybody here except for maybe Megan. So I hope we'll get an introduction from Megan too. I'm Mike Walker, and I represent the School of Education and Leadership, the educational leadership part of that program. I'm also the chair of the curriculum committee, and that's how I've come to know many of you. So I'm joining your committee because Greg issued me an invitation thinking that doing so might give us opportunities to better align the work of CIC and CC. So I'm looking for ideas for how that can happen, and look forward to working with you in this group.
Thank you, Mike. Ali, go ahead.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Ali Kamisipur. I'm from the School of Technology and Computing, the program director of the undergraduate programs there at STC. I've given almost everybody here on the call trouble in one way or the other, I think except Presley. So keep an eye on that. Let's see. The reason why I'm on this call is because the previous members STC had on the CIC committee had left our team. So I'm basically a replacement there. It's great to be on this team.
Very good. Ali, thank you very much. And going in order of what I see on my screen, Megan.
Sure. Hi, my name is Megan Smithling. I'm one of the librarians. I'm relatively new to CityU. I started last summer. So Mike, I think we worked together very briefly once last summer, but it was pretty short. And I was very new. And I'm on the committee taking over for Lizzie. So we just like to have library presence. And so we're trading off committee assignments. And Yeah, so I'm looking forward to getting to know a little more about programs and people, because even though I've been here a year, it's all been remote, and that makes it hard to get to know folks.
Sure. Very good. Thank you, Megan. Good to have all of you on the committee. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is let you know where I'm at. We're in the middle. Well, there's a new cycle, and just briefly to let you know what the cycle is. Summer, July 1st is when the new annual year begins, and our reviews of programs actually begin in October, and that will be no different this year. So even though we had this particular BAM in August, it was for a lot of reasons. Most of it was the DQAB issues that the BAM Canada had, which is why we had to kind of extend it into this year. So it was actually last year's program we were reviewing. Anyway, that's done. So I'm working on the schedule. There's a bunch of new programs that need to be put into this particular schedule this upcoming year. That some of the months are relatively heavy, and so I have to look carefully as to how to reconfigure the different programs in the different months. So I try to keep the different schools kind of together as best as I can, so that's a work in progress. Another area that I've been working on is updating the upcoming APAR for the year, and the end of course evaluations, the new end of course evaluation data that we have is really taking center stage, where last year, if you remember, we had the old end of course evaluation data and the new kind of together. Well, I'm taking out of this APAR the old end of course evaluation data and just keeping the new EOCEs in there. Another change that I'm making in the APAR is the old CityU COGS. If you remember those COGS, some of you might remember what they were. That's removed, and what is replaced is the new LO alignment. And the way that so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen here and show you what I'm going to request of you. So you'll see the screen right now, and in this folder called CIC documents for peer review, there will be two documents here. The first document is the annual template. I would like the new people for sure to read through the entire document, and you are welcome to make comments by clicking the comment bar and making your own comments on the side about anything that you see that might be confusing to you, or even make comments of additions that you think should be added. So I'm looking for all these things from you. But yeah, please, the new people, please read through it. So here is the metrics of instructional satisfaction that I mentioned, that I'm just keeping the new one in here. Scrolling down further, this is the section of learning outcome assessment, and you'll see that it is a similar view as to the old COG style, but I created it based on the nerdy PDG guide that we have used. And so this being a sample, this green row being the sample, I put in the PO, what the N would be, what the learning outcome description is, and then this is below standard, approaching standard, at standard, and exceed standards. And though this isn't a perfect piece yet, I'm thinking that we might be able to utilize some kind of percentage. And of course, Christian, I'll be working with you. Mary Mara, I'll be working with you to make sure that what we put into this here section is going to be the right kind of data that will make sense to everyone. Also, because we don't know perfectly what the course is that this particular LO is aligned to, I put the course in here and the assignment name. So this kind of helps us to see how things are aligned and should be aligned in the PDG to the LO assessment idea. So, go ahead and make your comments in here. It's not completely approved yet, which is why I want you to make your comments and review it. I'm going to close this one, and you'll see a second document. And this is a draft external review. Now, some of you I've been working with this past year on the 5-year review process, which is a brand new process. It's an external kind of review process. We've had 5-year reviews that have been internal, and they work very similar to the annual APARs that we do. But this being an external process, it is a brand new process. And there are many questions associated with it that we've experienced this past year. So it's all about continuous improvement. And what I've got here, working with Heather, working with Presley, and working with Scott predominantly, I have created maybe a deeper document that talks about what the process is, how it works, the procedure for the review, and it goes on and on. And then down below, the outcome that we're looking for is an external program review report. And though this is not a complete document, it is much better than the 1-page document that I had to work from. So I think at this point it's 4 pages, and I've kind of separated it out. So I've got a section where the program director manager will conduct their part of this particular process so that we provide enough data for the external reviewer. And so you go ahead and read through it. I'm sure there will be many questions, and those are the questions I'm looking for. Put them on the side. And then there is the evaluator section. And so the evaluator section is really the report part that we're looking for from the external reviewer, which will be, in essence, the 5-year report. I'm going to call it APAR. The 5-year APAR, which is an EPAR or something like that, that the external reviewer will provide us. And then when it's all said and done, this document that is presented from the external reviewer will be the report that the program director presents to the CIC committee during that particular year. So I will ask you to review this, put your questions on the side. I know there will be questions. There will be a lot of questions, and you'll probably wonder, well, how does this work, or what is that all about, or this and that. Those are the things I'm looking for, because I've been working kind of in a bubble at this point, and now it's going to be further opened up, and I'll be looking for what is not clear, basically. If you could have those reviewed by today is 17, let's say by Friday, September 2nd, that would be very, very helpful to the process. Any questions on that?
We were talking earlier, do you want me to respond to you directly, or do you want me to respond here in this piece? Mine will be maybe more directly related to what we're working on now in terms of being up soon. Well, sooner rather than later, unfortunately.
Yeah. I would actually like for you to respond sooner than later. And a lot of the comments that you and I are going to work through. Heather, I'm working with Heather on her 5-year review. So we, probably sooner than later would be better. I would like for you to reply to me directly.
Okay, perfect. That's what I thought. Yeah. Then I can share with you guys all of the heartaches and the issues and the good things about it. And Presley, quit laughing. I'm not sure how I ended up here, but yes.
Greg, do you want feedback on these documents as comments in those documents or as emails to the group?
No, comments in the document.
Thank you.
Yep, and I see that Presley's already made a comment. You go.
I was, I was going to bring it up, just telling you here, but then I thought, well, I don't want to take up more time in the meeting, so I'll just comment.
Very well. And that's just fine. So thank you. Any further questions or anything that for the good of the order at this point? Otherwise, we'll disengage.
I don't want to belabor this, so thank you, Greg. It's a great start. I will look at the document as well. I was looking in particular for elements when it comes to EDI, DEI in that regard, because I think it's a increasingly important aspect of our curriculum. And I know Mary knows this as well, just how we are considering how DEI embeds in our curriculum, and specifically how do we ensure that it is addressed. So
Sure. Good.
That's a aspect that I'll comment on.
Yep, that's great. All right, well, thank you, everyone. And Christian, I'll probably be in touch with you within weeks, probably after I get back from holiday, which will be September 2nd to the 12th. And Mary, I will probably be in touch with you as well, just to make sure that our data is in a form that will be useful for the upcoming year.
Greg, did you say you'll be on holiday until September 12th?
Well, you know me, right? Holiday every day, right?
From now until September 12th?
No, it's September 2nd until the 12th. All right, everybody, you have a good rest of your week. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Great to see you all.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
See you.